I said I'm a celebrity, and I don't think I'm valued enough. So right there, you have a definite argument you could go with. Social media causes a misinterpretation of a person's freedom of speech. Technology advancements will lead to humanity's downfall, and parents should protect their children at all costs. So those are your 4 topics that we're ultimately going to be looking at. SPAR debate for these are going to start on Monday the 25th. So not this Monday coming up, but Monday the 18th. Before I gave you free reign and said, okay, start doing your thing, there's a couple little housekeeping things that we need to take care of. So is everyone in Google Classroom? Just give us the little nod. Or if the person next to you is not, go like this. Okay. He's looking at fantasy football, isn't he?
No.
Oh, okay. Where I want you to go over here on the side, there's the whole daily topic things. We are going to go to the 4th one, common websites. So common website topic. And you'll see a couple things up here at the top. May as well just, actually, I think we need to do NoodleBib first. So there's this first one where it says archive this, skip that one, go to the next one that simply says Noodle Tools, and we're going to log in. Your login for NoodleBib, Noodle Tools, is what your old one was last year. So like the old logins that you used to get on the computer, I think that was what, like first 4 of, like,
First 4 last name, first
3 of first name, and then graduation year again. Your passwords for NoodleBib by default were NHSD, NHSD. Most of you probably still have that. This whole access via G Suite thing does not work for us, so you'd be going over here. So first 4 of last name, first 3 of first name, and then graduation year. These computers, the numbers that you have, we'll take them down on like Monday. These will be your computers then for like the rest of the semester. So any modifications, you're making so far as passwords or things that you're doing to your browser and all that kind of stuff, you'll be okay. Now, for a lot of you, you're going to get a revalidation page. If you are able to successfully log in, where it's going to ask for like the code and username. It's the same thing for both. The username and code are the same. NHLIB, like North Hills Library. So if it's asking you to revalidate in both spaces, you would put NHLIB. After that, it should work. Doing all right. Darby wanted to take her bagel.
No,
I told her,
Mr. Kane
I said,
dared me to
step
take
back,
it.
Darby,
I said I would
step
never
back.
do that to my friend.
One is
She did say
31,
that.
31 sources. That's impressive.
Wow.
So she's
Got a
really
98
excited
on that
about it.
project.
Back row, we good?
That was my favorite book.
You guys, we're good?
My brother, you.
Okay. What we want to do then is in this, you should be like in your project spot. We're going to create a new project. And we are going to call it CHS argumentation or CHS something that it's argumentation. It's for this class.
Very creative.
Citation style, we are going MLA. Citation level, college and high school, we're advanced. And then you're going to hit submit. Mine already exists. Once you then get to this page, okay, here's where step that people will forget about. You have project details, then you have this middle area over here where it says sharing and collaboration, where share with a project inbox. You want to click on that little blue link. And then project inbox, start to enter the name. If you type CHS, I think you should, oh, it might not work for me because it's my inbox. You should get 2 options. One says period 2, one says period 6. You're in period 2. Some of you are still sleepy, so it's period 2. There's the option for shared link Google Doc. That really does not matter. You can click that if you want. You don't have to click it. And then just make sure you put in your name. And then you would hit done. So what happens then is for me, I can go to,
Uh-oh. I didn't put my name
uh-oh. So there's Maria, there's Alexis, there's Elena, there's Noelle, Michaela. Well, there's your name.
in. Me. Oh, I didn't. It did it for me.
It might have just known that it's your account. So get yourself in that inbox. What this does is there's a PIT requirement where you have to collect 50 sources throughout the course of the semester. This allows me to keep tabs on your inbox, on your project for CHS, so that you don't have to go, I'm at 42, I'm at 50, I'm at 4. I can go in and check to see where you're at the end of the semester. So there will be a due date. I'll certainly let you know. I think our last day of the semester is like January the 12th or something. So somewhere around January the 5th, I'll be like, hey, you have to have all your stuff in for our project. But rather than you printing out a whole bunch of things to me or showing me all your sources, this just gives me access to it. So if we have everyone, I think we should be at 14. Ooh, we're at 13, but Maggie's not here, so that would mean all of you folks are here. Yay! How about that? Okay. So in the folder is where you are going to start putting your sources that you are able to find. In order for it to be a source for this for not just this assignment, but for the whole entire semester, it's not saying you will cite 50 sources in your speech or in your speeches or your various assignments. It's saying that you will consult, you will research at least 50 sources. So how many speeches are you going to give for your SPAR debate? You know, the one that we're working on, you're going to give one speech. But you will be looking up 8 arguments, theoretically, because there's 4 resolutions, affirmative and negative. So any source that you research for any of those SPAR topics would go in here. The problem that people will run into is, oh, I don't feel like putting in the citations right now. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And then it's like January the 7th and you need it tomorrow and you're going, oh, it's later. This is really going to be a long night now. But if you keep up with it as you're going throughout the course of the year, it ends up not being that bad. I'll check in every now and then just to see where people are at. But there's not secret dates that you need to be at 20 sources by or 30 sources that'll show up in Power School. But you know, later on in November, I might go, Maria, why do you only have like 4 sources? You might want to start adding some. It lets me check up that way, but I only check them in one time. When we do our more formal debates, you will give me works cited page of the sources that you use in your speech. But you don't have to worry about that for the SPAR debate, because until you give the speech, you don't know which one you're going to be giving. So I'm not going to have you give me 8 theoretical works cited pages or anything like that. So whatever sources you consult, you look at, you consider, they go in here. So I think we were saying, hey, if you researched 8 arguments and you did 2 sources per argument, you'd be up to 16. If you did 3 sources per argument, you'd knock out about half of them because you'd be at 24. Okay? Going back to Google Classroom, now that we have the first one set up, we can go to this Archive This. Has anyone ever used Archive This before? It's a beautiful little thing. You want to go to the link for Archive This. You want to make sure that you have your little menu bar, like shortcut bookmark bar, viewable on Google Chrome. If it's not, where you go to like the 3 little dots, I think it's under bookmarks and then show bookmark bar. Griff, did you have a question? Or somebody? I thought I saw a hand go up. So where the 3 little dots are, bookmarks, show bookmark bar. And that allows you to have that little thing running below the address. Okay? Do you have the 3 little dots over on the right side? Yours might be lines, because it's a whole Mac PC thing. I think it's still the same way though. We're bookmarks and then show bookmark bar.
Mine has an exclamation.
Ooh.
And then go to bookmarks. And then
It's just
bookmarks.
calling.
Still works.
It's just calling attention to it. Darby, I'm right here. I'm right here. All right. What you want to do then is on this page where it says archive and annotate setup and access, there's this little button right here, archive this, by the arrow. If you put your cursor on it or your mouse and you click, it will now have this little gray box that you can bring up and put it into your bookmark bar, and you should have a thing that now says archive this. It's clicking and dragging, clicking and dragging. Oops. So the archive this, you bring it up to the top, you get a little plus sign, and then you have this little archive this wording there. You did that one okay. Yeah, you got it.
Yep.
Griff has it. Max has it.
Um,
Noel
you just click and drag it up.
is working on it.
I think if you open the internet instead of Chrome.
You figuring it out? Okay, so it's click and drag. Don't like double click on the button, but you just click, drag, bring it up. What this does is if you go to a website, and don't do this, but I'm just going to do it myself here. I'm going to go to Post Gazette, find a news story. I'm looking at a story, I'm looking at an article that I think is going to be useful for me that I want to end up citing going into my NoodleBib project. So, all right, I have it. All I do is I hit the archive this button. Whatever. Thank you. And I'm going to get a little box that's going to pop in. And since you are already logged in, I guess that's not going to let me do it. Okay, whatever. We're going to go to Griff's page, ESPN.com. Oop, the Indians won again, 22 in a row. How about that? Try this again. I hit archive this. What it does is it gives me the article title. Now, for MLA format, generally each word does need to be capitalized, so I would want to go back and change the title a little bit. I enter my project. I'm going to CHS argumentation period 2. I want to save it. What happens now when I go to NoodleBib, lo and behold, in my CHS argumentation period 2 folder, I have a source about Cleveland Indians winning 22 games in a row. There it is. Now, one thing that you have to do after you add a source, and this would be whether you create one on your own, because you can't always do this for all sources, or if you go through the archive this, I need to go to options. And the second part under options says edit annotation. For each source that you include, you have to have at least 2 sentences. First sentence tells us what assignment you are using this for. So I would probably just number it so that you know you're taking part of it. This is for my pop or op, if I can spell, spar debate. And then second sentence, what are you using this source for? Don't write that, but you would answer that question. What's the purpose of the source? What are you hoping to gain from the source? You don't have to give me a note card. You don't have to put every single statistic or something. This source is, this was an example of technology that could probably ruin the world in the near future. You know, something along those lines for one of those topics that we'd be looking at. And then you would end up saving and close. When you archive this, there will be a little text box that does show up where it says that you can put in your annotation. It has never worked for anyone in humanity so far as I know. Maybe you will be the first. Chances are it probably won't work for you. So I wouldn't really waste your time about typing in the annotation at that part because for whatever reason it doesn't seem to carry over. Okay. Any questions? Nationals and Indians in the World Series, Dinesh. Could happen. Could happen. All right, so common websites. The first two there are always Noodle Tools, and then that the archive this button. The next, I think I have 4 that follow. Is we have the library, which is going to take you a direct link to North Hills Library. Don't ignore the library databases. There are good databases that show up on there. The 2 that I would say you would probably end up using the most would be Opposing Viewpoints, and then the other one would be, where did SIRS go? You're here, oh, right down here, ProQuest, where it says SIRS. Opposing Viewpoints and SIRS tend to be the best options. One thing that does happen when you go to log in, especially if you're at home, sometimes it happens at school, sometimes it doesn't. At home, it's going to ask you for password and username. Right below, I have a list of library database passwords that you can use wherever you are at. Mr. King? Okay. I do. Sure thing. Yep. Noel, you're free to go. You have an early dismissal.
Right now?
Yeah, that's what it said. That's what she said.
Okay. Can you tell someone?
Ta-ta. Or no, that would be adios, I guess. Okay. So usernames, passwords, things like that, they're all here. You just have access to it, through Google Classroom. But Opposing Viewpoints does a nice job of obviously giving you opposing viewpoints. So if we type in something like freedom of speech, which we have the whole argument about it being misinterpreted. More eyeballs watching the screen, the slower it takes.
Mister, can I have a catcher and a rabbit?
They're back there in that crate. Or we'll hit something about the Environmental Protection Agency. Something. Library databases, you cannot archive this because what the problem is it won't archive the article or it won't cite the article. It just cites the general database and it does not work for our purposes. And there are sometimes websites people try to use where archive this does not work. If it's a secure website and there's usually a little padlock by like where I have an I up here, that means that it is secure and it's not going to work. One thing I wanted to show you in Opposing Viewpoints, and the same thing would be in SIRS, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. We can check on Monday. You cannot archive this, but they give you the citation. So you can do a copy and paste method for citation, so it's still not difficult to ultimately use. What is one website that you cannot use for any of your sources? Maria's got it, Wikipedia. Why not?
Because like anybody can edit it.
That's not the reason. That's a good point, though. Wikipedia, you can still get useful information from Wikipedia. I'm not going, Wikipedia is terrible, don't ever, ever, ever use it. Matt, any idea?
Isn't it built on like a bunch of other sources?
It's a secondary source. So your main primary source kind of means person who was there at the time. It's not that all your sources are going to be primary, but they're not going to be the original news source. However, what does Wikipedia give you? You have links to the sources. So in Wikipedia, you might do some quick little looking up for some ideas. You could use then those other links that are there, and that could be an original source that you use. The same thing kind of happens with some of these other things that we have here. International Debate Education Association, it's called idebate.org. They're set out of the UK, Great Britain, so you'll see a lot of things dealing with British issues that would be taking place. But they have a thing called a debatabase, which I just like saying debatabase, where there's a variety of debates in there broken down into different categories. This could be helpful: free speech debate, health, politics, culture, sport. We're taking a look at parents and watching over children. Today's National Concussion Awareness Day, by the way. So these have some areas where you could take a look and maybe get some ideas from them. The nice thing about it, just pick the first one here, economic policy. one thing that they then tend to provide is they will give you, have a good weekend, points for and points against. So it's a nice place to kind of get started with some ideas. And then when you click on their points for, lo and behold, you get a lot of web links that will give you direct sources that you can use. So idebate.org you cannot cite like Wikipedia, but you can use it as a place, a gateway to locate some other things. Same thing happens with this procon.org website that is provided. Gives you pros and cons to controversial issues, hence the name procon.org. Also breaks it down into different categories. National anthem protest, pros and cons. Could be some stuff with free speech that would work for there. Again, you're not going to cite this, but you will see there are a bunch of footnotes that start to pop up. So if I hit one of those footnotes, I get a huge list of sources depending on the topic that I can start to kind of look up and find. So they are good ways to kind of locate some additional stuff that could be helpful for you. And then the last one that's on here is Room for Debate, New York Times. They have not updated it, I think, since like February or so. But a lot of the issues that we're looking at would still be on here. I'm going to go freedom of speech. What New York Times does is they have a topic, and then they have a panel of like 6 or 7 people debate the topic. So you can, again, get points for, points against. The nice thing with this one is, if you find, let's say there are 6 or 7 top arguments on here that you like, each one of those could be its own source that you can use. When we start doing the research on Monday, or you even start over the weekend, I don't want you to type into Google, take our resolution and see what happens. Celebrities are not valued enough. The ideal thing to do is for you to brainstorm your own reasons why you think they are or are not. Why does social media cause a misinterpretation of freedom of speech? Why or why not? Then start to look up those specific points that you are coming up with your topics. So you're at least kind of deciding the direction that the argument goes in rather than the sources themselves. But when we come in on Monday, you'll just grab a computer, Google Classroom, start with these links, see what you can find, see what you can't find. We'll see how the databases are working so I can show you the copy and paste method for the citation. It'll save you a little bit of time. All right. Look at your computer. Make sure you know what your number is so you grab that one tomorrow or on Monday. Makes the login process much easier. I'll get your computer numbers from you on Monday so that we have a record of them.